Emma, great to see you. Welcome to Popternative.
Thank you for having me.
This is exciting. South by Southwest. Sweetness, congratulations.
Thank you very much. We're very, very thrilled that we got this premiere because it's right up our alley.
Well, it's a crazy, surreal feeling, right? Because you make these films, you feel good about it some ways, but and at the end of the day, you never know. And then you play the waiting game, and boom, South by Southwest. What has that journey been for you of these waves of like making this, playing the waiting game, and now people are going to finally see it, and it's going to be out of your hands?
It's been patience testing. I kind of my producer and manager always says the same thing. He's like, he's that trust the process, sports analogy, and I'm just trying to do that. Like, I knew the movie was gonna premiere where it was meant to premiere, and so there's only so much I can control, and then the rest I'm trusting the process, and whatever is gonna come our way is right for it. But yeah, South by is pretty exciting.
Absolutely. A film like this, where in an industry, an indie film, where everyone's wearing many hats, you wrote this, you directed it. Was the mindset and preparation and journey similar with the writing hat versus the director hat, or did it feel like all one big specific kind of journey altogether, so to speak, with the writing and directing? Because in a lot of ways, they're different, but in a lot of ways, it's all you're writing and directing something to get the story come to life, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've been a director for a lot longer than I've been like a writer. I've always been writing, but this is kind of my first this is my first feature. So, so much of my writing has been this vacuum. You know, you're putting things on a page and they sit on a hard drive, and you kind of send them around, and that's sort of the existence of it. And so this was something like next tier, to have a crew of people and actors and really great actors reading the lines for me, and it was kind of like I don't know. It's a godlike sense of power that I will be chasing for the rest of my life. Probably, to be honest. It's like, holy crap. To have just what an actor can bring to the lines was a newer experience to me than the directing side of it. But ultimately, I think it kind of all felt the same. I was really working on the script in tandem, even on the days of while we were shooting. It was all happening at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I walk on eggshells with these interviews, especially with like the South by Southwest and everything, where like I don't want to say much about the film, like, because I love people going in fresh. I do want to ask about one actor, one character. I mean, Herman Tømmeraas is in this movie, and I just kind of want to know because just such an incredible actor. I love him in Ragnarok, and he did a lot of other cool things in the horror thriller world as well. What were those kind of conversations like with him in terms of diving into this character, and essentially like what was it just like working with Herman specifically?
Herman came to us too. I did a Zoom with him, and then he taped for it. And his tape was so good that I rewrote the character to be Norwegian to accommodate him, because he has a bit of an accent. So I was like, the character wasn't originally written to be foreign, and I was like, this guy's got the whole thing. So he just, I don't know, when I saw him in that tape, it was like I'd seen this character in my head for so long and so many years, and then it was like in front of me, and I think it was just like this emotional, like it just locked in, and I was like, that's him. And he's so wonderful to work with, and so professional, and like never complained, even though he was running around in his underwear for a big portion of this film. I don't know if that gives too much. I don't think that gives too much away. That's like the teaser. He's going to be in his underwear for a lot of the film. And we were filming in like middle of, upper Ontario, in April. Like, it was cold.
Where did you film it?
North Bay, Ontario.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it was chilly, and he was so just pleasant every day and excited to be at work, which is my feeling as well. Like, we got to play make believe. Like, that's
literally what it is. Like, I remember someone told me on an interview, they were like an actor, they were at like their friend's like kid's birthday party, and this kid came up to him and asked him like, what do you do? And he said, he's an actor, right? He's like, I play pretend for a living. Like, that's literally what he said. So like you're right about that. Whenever I have general kind of questions about kind of the craft and about this movie, but then also got to give a shout out to my guys at Blitz Berlin because they did an incredible score for this movie. They just crushed it out of the park. Shout out Martin, Dean, Tristan, all those guys. I feel like it's interesting, right? Because the post-production, it kind of goes in these kind of waves in terms of like, it's really like color heavy and then sound heavy and then music heavy. What was that like? What were those conversations like with Blitz Berlin? Were there a lot? Was it just kind of like, here's what we're thinking and they're going to make some music? I'm just curious about that specifically.
No, I think Blitz Berlin more so than this process for music was so collaborative because they were involved. I mean, they've had the script for years too. Like they've been a part of the conversation for years. Even when we were going into financing this thing, like it was always going to be them. So they knew the world and they knew the story. And in pre-production, they were writing all the songs because we had to have our band perform them live in the film. And then even through the like edit process, I had them write themes early on. So we were cutting to their themes. I'm a I'm very influenced by music, just not only my background, but like the whole film is like this. It's like every film I've ever written is inspired by like a playlist or a song.
I noticed, and I love it. I'm in love with the songs in this movie.
And so there was this sound world that I was listening to. We would even listen to every day in pre-production and on set. We'd have a song of the day that we'd pick. And then like the whole crew would listen to it and we'd do like a little stretch to start the day. And just to set the like music, I think is such an easy way to get people into a vibe. So we're all on the same page kind of emotionally for what the day's going to bring.
Oh my God. So that's amazing.
I use music a lot. And
well, you directed music videos as well. Like, you come from that world, right? So 100%. But I come from that world too. I was a concert promoter, but like now I'm a filmmaker and all my colleagues will say like, I'm always trying to push like heavy metal and like deathcore and like punk in my movies because I miss those days. I miss those days where I go to like the local record store and I buy like the House of Wax soundtrack that has like My Chemical Romance. Like I miss those days.
Yes, that was my goal too because I was like, I want this to have I used to have a poster for The Crow, and I remember, and even some of the, and I remember like The Crow had this sick soundtrack, and it was like with a soundtrack by 9 Inch Nails and and all these kind of things too. And so, and they'd have original songs by these huge bands.
Yes, and I used to go buy all the CDs, like and even all like the first wave of Marvel movies, like the Fantastic Four, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. Insane, amazing. They had like Taking Back Sunday and like
there was that default track that was like went off too. But that's also, I think the first Spider-Mans were all directed by, there was like Mark Webb, right? And he's a music video director too. So it's like
it's the best. Can we bring it back? Can we bring this back?
I'm trying.
Like we should bring it back.
Like there's a lot of Canadian artists in the soundtrack for this movie, like a lot. And just because that's where we're coming from and it was sort of the influence of it too. But I'm
so happy about this conversation. I'm so happy about this conversation right now because that's where I came from. PD Beats was like my stage name. He was playing bands and everything. That's my world. So that's like
well, it's our world too. The production company that we work with is this is our first new movie, but prior to this is like commercials and music videos, and we do like music videos, like that's kind of where we all came from and like the music industry. So
I feel like me and you can do like our own podcast just about this, and we can probably talk about Vans Warped Tour and all that stuff. But getting back to Sweetness, 2 quick questions. I mean, that script to screen journey is really interesting, and like you wrote this, so I'm just wondering, like, when you have the final like locked script, right? Like the go to camera script. And then you start kind of filming it, right? You're at production and you see it come to life. What was that script to screen journey like for you on this film specifically? Because a lot can happen in between, right? Like stuff can change in between, but like what was that experience like for you with Sweetness, script to screen, so to speak?
The script was constantly changing. Yeah. I found that to be very, very true, that there's the old adage, if there's 3 times you'll write it, it's like once when you are actually writing the script and once when you're making it. So like the casting changed things a lot too. And then in post too, just like, you know, how the characters, like, I think that the movie I thought I was writing, if I'm being very honest, I was like, I think I was making a much more serious film in my mind. And then in the process of getting into it, I was like, this is way more fun. Mm-hmm. And it just is this. And it just is becoming something that's beyond it. Like, it's like watching your child grow and you're like, oh, like they have their own little personality now. And it just became its own thing. And it's sort of wild to see everyone who just contributes to that.
It's
was
so
a wild,
well said. Last quick question. A lot happening in the thriller horror movie genre right now. I feel like the genres keeps changing. I feel like we're getting movies in those genres from all around the world. There's so many different ways to scare people and make people think. What's it like being a filmmaker right now in those worlds, so to speak, and in that kind of indie space of a lot of these kind of like films that are doing kind of psychological things and jump scares? I'm just wondering what's that like for you specifically?
I think it's a cool time to be a genre filmmaker, actually, because I think that there's a little bit, well, one, you got movies like The Substance doing really well at the Oscars or something, right? Like that's
horror
new,
movie
that's
got nominated
cool.
for Best Picture.
Yeah, that's like, that's wild.
Yeah.
And we've had kind of that before, you know, you got like Silence of the Lambs or something back when that's like more of a thriller, but there's so few and far between.
Yep.
And The Substance is such a gross, like full on body horror to like, that used to be maybe looked down on. I think that for a while, there was that elevated horror kind of thing that no one really liked who was in the genre space, because we're like, it's like, what does that mean? Like horror can be whatever you want it to be. And I think okay, I'm going to try and draw a line here, a parallel, because I think that there's something about like horror movies and thriller movies are kind of like, they're like this, you know, sad little like thing that's not maybe like artful or like reflective of culture or like has any value or something. They're kind of like this trashy sort of space. And I felt like there's kind of something similar for like artists like Floorplan, who's the band in the movie, who make art for like teen girls. And it's kind of just like, again, it's like One Direction or like all them aren't like real artists. They're like kind of the trashier little version of it. And there's just something about this movie was like giving value, I hope, to like that kind of art. I think that horror can have and thrillers can have influence in space beyond what we, I don't know, what like the critics or kind of like maybe the tastemakers give them.
That's like so well said. To add to that super quick for wrap up as well, I will say that I feel like the genre is getting a lot more popular now, and I feel like some people are getting, like the people that can get over the jump scares and the gore, because there's some people that straight up can't do that, right? Like there's some people that like will like hear about The Substance and they're like, no, like I can't do it. Like I can't do gross, I can't do gore. But the people, like I'm realizing that like the people that are able to get past that haven't done like horror movies and thrillers like as a pastime watching them, they're treating it almost like going on a roller coaster. Like I feel like the thrill component and the adrenaline component is like a way to like convince people to watch those movies. Because like when I watch those movies, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. When I listen to heavy metal music, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster, if that makes sense.
I think it's very healthy, actually. I think it's like, there's something like, it seems weird to feel like you're like, you know, maybe you're putting more violence out into the world or something like this though too. But I do think that there's kind of this like, I don't think it's like dark to go to the dark side in this like safe sort of space and get on this ride and it just to feel seen. It's like, I don't know, it's just like a space for weirdos. And
absolutely.
I think that metalheads are always the nicest people in the world, and so are horror fans.
Oh, the best. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. This, you know, these are the type of interviews, and now I'm just gonna go listen to like music the whole time, and like just like go listen to all the bands in the movie, like your soundtrack and everything. And Sweetness is having the world premiere at South by Southwest. Congratulations, and thank you so much for your time. It was so great chatting with you.
It's so great chatting with you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Your Instagram account is just your name to keep update with everything. Is that what? Is it just Emma Higgins?
It's actually just Emma Average.
Oh.
Emma, and then the word average.
This movie was great. Emma Average made a great movie. I just want to say that. Awesome. Well, this has been popalternative.com/popalternative. For previous episodes, till next time, this is Emma and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.